How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that honored you as a woman, as made equal in the image of God. Welcome to Heretica, her eco-feminist theology podcast. My name is Elena and I am an eco-feminist theologian. Please subscribe at theologyofher.substack.com. Why do women turn towards the divine feminine to heal from trauma? Women have recognized that the cause of trauma stems from a patriarchal society. Therefore, what comes first is the patriarchy, and then the trauma. Within a patriarchal society exist harmful gender norms which restrict gender roles, normalize power imbalances whereby the female is considered inferior to the male, and systematic discrimination leads to expressions of gender-based violence. Within feminist theology, thanks to Elizabeth Schulze Fiorenza, who coined the term kyriarchy in her 2001 book Wisdom Ways, introducing feminist biblical interpretation, she defines kyriarchy instead of patriarchy as a neologism derived from the Greek words for lord or master, which means kyrios, and to rule or dominate, from the Greek word archein, which seeks to redefine the category of patriarchy as a social system that keeps all intersecting oppressions and subordination in place, including race, gender, language, class, sexual orientation, disability, culture, and so on. As such, Schulze Fiorenza points out that the theoretical adequacy of patriarchy has been challenged because, for instance, black men do not have control over white women or white men. As such, women can experience abuse and therefore trauma from other women, and men can experience abuse, trauma from a woman or other men. Healing can happen by turning towards the divine feminine as much as one can heal from turning towards the divine masculine. For purposes of this article, I seek to explore why women who have been abused and traumatized by men turn towards the divine feminine, which incorporates the divine masculine for healing, as gender-based violence towards women is more reported to occur from men. Understanding the divine feminine. As stated, women view their wounds when stemming from gender-based violence as being the result of a patriarchal, kyriarchal society. So women who seek through their spirituality or faith to heal turn to the divine feminine as a source or their main source of healing. This occurs when women recognize how their trauma has caused a split between mind, body, and spirit. The divine feminine thus becomes a source of integration, as she is felt as the one which integrates spiritual and bodily experiences. Alongside the divine masculine, tensions are harmonized, and one can achieve mental, emotional, physical, and psychic fullness or wholeness. This occurs when women recognize how their trauma has caused a split between mind, body, and spirit. The divine feminine thus becomes a source of integration, as she is felt as the one which integrates spiritual and bodily experiences. Alongside the divine masculine, tensions are harmonized, and one can achieve mental, emotional, physical, and psychic fullness or wholeness. When we heal towards wholeness, then duality, which makes us think in separatist ways, ceases to be a source of struggle. Within Judeo-Christian tradition, the union between humanity and the sacred is seen when Eve becomes the counterpart of Adam and links us to Mother Earth through the fall. And the Virgin Mary represents the experience of mothering the divine within her body. Mary Magdalene is portrayed in the Gnostic Gospels as a favorite disciple of Christ, and in the canonical Gospels as the devoted disciple who never left Christ's side throughout the crucifixion, through the resurrection story in which Mary Magdalene is identified by name as the first to whom Christ appeared to. In prehistoric matriarchal cultures, it was believed that the social structures were more egalitarian, and feminine images of the divine were integrated alongside masculine counterparts and revered equally. She was revered as the mother goddess. With development of urbanization, military rule, and hierarchical society in the West, goddess figurines became less associated with life and were increasingly used wherein a goddess espoused the king and established his divine right to rule, his kyriarchal social order. As a result, the divine feminine became less powerful in her own right, as masculine leaders sought to usurp her authority, and power for the divine feminine was increasingly associated with submission to masculinity. The motherly and feminine aspects of God were devalued within Western Judeo-Christian traditions, a devaluation which was amplified through the teachings of dualism. For example, dualism, as per Plato, expressed the separation of the material and immaterial world. This brought about a hierarchical order wherein the spiritual existed at a higher level than the material world, therefore containing more value. Within this Platonic paradigm, the divine feminine, so long associated with earth, matter, and instinctual energy, was devalued, whereas the masculine, associated with spirit, rationalism, and logic, took on increased significance. Therefore, when a woman turns to the divine feminine for healing, she feels that she is healing a historical wound that exists within every woman. How do women approach the divine feminine? Research has found that this occurs through devotion to the divine feminine. Women's selection of the divine feminine is inclusive of Christianity, such as the Virgin Mary, the Black Madonna, Eve, Mary Magdalene, the Holy Spirit, but also saints including Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint Brigid. Others express this devotion to deities of other religious traditions or from ancient Greek deities like Hecate and Diana, or through the ancient archetype of the Trinity, Maiden, Mother, and Crone. Devotional practices include creating an altar, writing a song or poem, painting or contemplating on iconography, prayer, meditation, going on a pilgrimage, breathwork, yoga, and being in nature. These are all considered offerings of love towards the deity, asking for the reciprocation of that love from the divinity, a seeking to know her, and feeling a pull towards her that won't let go. So how does this become healing? Through rituals towards the divine feminine, devotion for the body increases, and one experiences the sacredness of bodyfulness. The below findings are from a PhD thesis entitled Prayer of the Body, Reflections on Archetypal Divine Feminine Figures in Embodied Spirituality by Sarah Bond, which she wrote in 2022. So how have women embodied the divine feminine leading to healing? First, slowing down can allow women to listen to the divine feminine voice emanating from within the body, rather than ascending from a higher reality. Meditating with the intention of embodying the qualities of a divine feminine figure impacts one's sense of feeling grounded and present within one's body. Connecting with the sacred rhythms of fertility and the bleed cycle allows women to recognize that bleeding and ovulating, including the act of carrying a living organism for 9 months and then giving birth, is an act of the feminine divine, which allows women to begin to trust their bodies. Equally, spending time in nature allows women to begin to trust their bodies and further allows them to retain a sense of self-trust and intuition. Reconnecting with bodily pleasure is described as experiencing the body as a gift from God. Some women, exploring their sexuality to overcome shame, found healing in sacred sexuality through sex, while others found a deep connection to their sexuality through celibacy, and how that made them aware of the sacredness of the body. Then realizing that the body and spiritual experiences are inseparable, and thus healing happens on a bodily level, not an intellectual level. Further, women learn how prayer comes from their body, from their heart, and this deepens their faith. It becomes embodied. Additionally, some women describe the process of self-transformation, like the incarnation of Christ, and how through the body they were able to understand God incarnate in the body, as their own body healed and became sacred. Finally, the realization that divine images are both masculine and feminine, and that a gender-neutral divine figure points to the importance of further conceptualizations of divinity that go beyond dualistic masculine or feminine representations. On a psychological level, women experience greater assertiveness, agency, and empowerment. Women question the religious and social narratives surrounding femininity and the divine for a sturdier sense of self, appreciation for intuition, self-trust, and increased groundedness. And then, on an ecological level, women found an increased ability to recognize aspects of the divine within others, experiencing increased compassion and awareness of the commonalities of humanity. Beyond humanity, some women were able to extend similar thinking to the natural world, expressing increased awareness of the sacredness inherent within the earth and environment. Many had encountered the healing impacts of nature in a way that helped them to reorient toward the physicality of their bodies. Some had awe-inspiring experiences with divinity in nature. In conclusion, this process of seeking the divine feminine as a form of healing is deeply personal, but also multifaceted, with many positive outcomes that mostly result in empowerment, fullness, and an enhancement of one's faith. How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that affirmed you as a woman, as equal to man, and made in the image of God. How might your life have been different? Heretica, her eco-feminist theology educational podcast.